Hello everyone, welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time, a great deal of things happened as I seem to recall. Let's see, we started the trial off again, and we got to talk to Seishiro Jigoku, who basically said that there's no way Gregson could have died in his cabin. We of course disproved that, though it took a while to do so. And, am I forgetting anything? Ah, right. We essentially revealed that there might be a assassin exchange plot happening. And, what else is there? Right, in the process of trying to prove that Gregson was killed on the ship, which we've proved two things. One, the ships have an, a refrigerator that the body could have been stuffed in, and the way he got the body would have been gotten back to Britain was, if I can find the photo here, this Jigoku's trunk, which we know he could fit a person into. So our theory is that he literally killed Gregson, stuffed his body into the trunk, and then just dumped him out first chance he got back at Britain, and then tried to leave. Okay. So yeah. Anyways, with that being said, Jigoku tries to turn things off again, essentially saying that, hey, Cosmo was supposed to do it. How do you know he didn't just do it, right? So, with that being said, we're not a decision here. Who killed, Gregson? Asogi or Jigoku? Well, after a bit of thinking, it's actually pretty impossible for Kazuma to kill Gregson. As for why? Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few moments ago. You claim that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is. No question. Yeah, I realized like last time, Jigoku's voice is literally just mine, but more raspy. Oh well. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What?
The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So, present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement?
Easy. Well, kind of. It's this. The evacuation drill itinerary. Simply because of what it said here. Yeah, I remember it being this. That's what it was, okay. So, if you recall, I think last day in court, Cosmo said after he left the barge, he stayed at a boarding ship with a signature to prove it, right? So, I think it was something like he was there before. Right, he left and assembled on the main deck at 10 p.m. to review evacuation procedures. Was it that he would have been seen if he came back, or?
Take that!
I know it was this. This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof.
An itinerary? How does that prove anything?
Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant.
What? Why?
On the night in question, as always, a crewman's sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock, as indicated on the itinerary.
Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far.
But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Oh yeah, it was that he was like already gone by the time the drill already happened. Okay, that's what it was. Okay, I thought there was something more for some reason. Oh well, just memories. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. But Prosecutor Sogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town, and returned to England the following morning. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Sogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing.
No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all.
I hope that sounds better. What do you mean?
The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that he really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to...
No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent a night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify, and undeniable proof.
No,
There's no escape this time. You can forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer, as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then, you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku?
It was that damned trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. It's over. My life is over.
Yeah, that's not overacting. Oh, well. Huh. Who said this now? Oh, a British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. Oh.
The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain around 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand.
And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi.
But things didn't go according to
plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch another replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Cosmo's place. Sholmes literally ruined the plan.
And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that.
The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume?
That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. And made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in
He was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. Mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah. So, that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him the time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move. I'd received a British-issued gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. Well, it's a gun. What did you expect to use it for?
So, the revolver belongs to you, does it?
Then, the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room on Fresno Street. The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So, before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then, on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have had the immediate intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. Ah. I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself in that one than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the red-headed league investigation. I only arrived at the room around 5:15. So I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later.
So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive in 5, would walk straight into a trap?
Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips. Ah. I didn't notice it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Oh, no witness stand. He's just standing there like it's a stage. Sorry, it's weird.
I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty.
Death? Nah. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say now can make matters worse for you. Just tell us. Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished.
Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I have now pronounced the findings of the court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson.
Oh, wow.
Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court.
First time a guilty verdict has ever actually felt good. Wow.
Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Oh, wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. Thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and this extraordinary assassin exchange, we do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion.
I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor.
As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Barrick Van Zeeks.
Objection!
The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred.
Counsel.
The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Goku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Barrick Van Zeeks has committed crimes for which he must be punished.
Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi.
Certainly. The murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seisho Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into this sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So, what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself.
Well, certainly, that would appear to follow.
The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Barrack Van Zeeks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What?
Order, order, order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information upon which to build a case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zeeks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here.
I must say, I'm surprised. By quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name.
You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zeeks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes.
That explains Cosma's silence before.
It will stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zeeks unwittingly started 10 years ago.
Very well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange.
I keep saying assassination exchange.
No, the assassin exchange.
I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely.
I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing.
Pray, turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this vile and unremitting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice.
Lord Van Zeeks,
I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time, I've endured the weight of the implied guilt that's gone with it. So, I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations for it once and for all.
Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as its primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey.
And what says the defense?
putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right that he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. And I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friend.
Then that's what we must do.
The defense has no objection, my lord.
Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange.
As you wish, my lord.
Okay. The Reaper and the assassin exchange. What do you have to say for yourself?
I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there is no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange.
So, you deny all accusations by the prosecution? Both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey, and that you are the mastermind of the assassin exchange?
I acknowledge that the public at large believes me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in a position to forswear.
Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yes?
Let me ask you, why are you here? What brings you to this courtroom?
A desire to uncover the truth.
Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty?
From all my expertise in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So, it's always my intention to work with my client in the pursuit of the truth.
I want you to remember what you just said.
Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness.
Ah, yes, my lord.
I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just waiting to point it out. The contradiction, you're convinced, lies somewhere within this man's testimony.
Which is wrong. Which, yeah, it's actually pretty simple to spot. It's right here. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, and Gregson and Dr. Wilson. Well, that's a lie, isn't it? After all, if we go to the autopsy report, well, not this one. Clint's autopsy report. The victim in this case, the victim in this case was Clint Van Zeeks, Barrett Van Zeeks' brother. The coroner was John H. Wilson, and it was Gregson that pressed for the autopsy to go along. So, yeah, y'all are connected. That's a lie right there.
Objection!
What is this? An autopsy report? Wait. This is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
What? My brother's autopsy report?
I am pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth.
Order in court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report to your counsel?
This, the autopsy report of the professor's final victim, is an indelible link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant.
Not that accursed name again. The professor.
I've personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, the autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Clint Van Zeeks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind.
Indeed. That was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes, and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zixia to avenge his brother's senseless death, with a marvelous victory in court.
A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true.
What?
Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death?
That's outrageous!
And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs protecting. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassination exchange.
Order! Order at once!
10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer, to be sentenced in death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it. Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost.
You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer.
Come on, Kazuma. You know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago. You must see that without evidence, that's nothing more than a wild accusation.
As it so happens, I have evidence.
What?
As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth.
What truth?
The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what I already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago.
What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret.
While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword, Karuma, before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was.
Right, I see. You're the Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You gonna cut me down like that thin? Is that it?
That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all.
Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt about that in my mind. But, unfortunately back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick.
So, you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated?
It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders.
Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak.
I'm not saying another word.
Even if your life depends on it?
That's right. Even then.
Yeah? So, that's when the tip of the sword broke. Oh, Cosmo-sama. If the results of Clinton Van Zeek's autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer, Gregson, and the lead coroner, Wilson, must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barrick Van Zeeks. This was his brother's autopsy. You really think he'd do that? He would essentially order Gregson to essentially mess up his own brother's body just to convict a guy that he knew wasn't guilty? Really? And mind you, Barrick Van Zeek is 33. That was 10 years ago. He was 23 at the time. Really? Matter of fact, hold up, I think Cosmo's like 22, 24. He was Cosmo's age when this happened. Like, he was literally a young man. And he had that much power? I mean, sure, his family was one of the biggest aristocracies, but still. Oh, it was Ryunosuke, I think that was 22. Whatever.
In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins.
Exactly, as was established earlier. It has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with the Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. Ah. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in the courtroom today, Barrick Van Zeeks.
Objection!
Kazuma Sogi.
What?
What you've just told the court. Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago?
I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission.
In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper.
What? What? Lord Van Zeeks?
I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities. To what?
If Lord Van Zeeks isn't the one behind all this, then yes, there really is only one other person that could have done something like that.
I believe I know who it is too.
You?
I just had a feeling this name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... Well, let's think about it for a moment here. The identity of the Reaper of the Bailey has to be someone with a lot of power. He was able to command 2 assassins, one from either country, really, to do his bidding. And cover it all up, I think, right? Yeah. So... there's one more name of a person. One more person that was involved in the Professor case. Whose name wasn't mentioned yet. Obviously, it's the guy playing judge at this very trial. Male Strongheart.
Take that!
The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results is the Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Male Strongheart.
What? Lord Strongheart? Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. But he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Clint Van Zeeks, had been killed.
I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history.
Well, Lord Van Zeeks?
10 years ago, I was very new to my profession, but I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle that trial. But I see now. I was very much mistaken.
It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seisho Jugoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey.
The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this formal accusal by the defense.
It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusation? Accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense. A wild fantasy at best.
You're not going to defend yourself?
You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy? That's utterly untrue.
Objection!
But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it.
And where is your evidence?
What? Gregson's
Gregson's dead now. Unless you're thinking of using a spirit medium to summon a ghost to the stand.
You mean to say...
I forget how the system works in your little backwater country. But in the course of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Order in the court. Following Inspector Gregson's murder and in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events 10 years ago, is there?
So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange.
This court has no business risk-breaking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections.
Kazuma. He's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy. Oh wait, no, that was stupid. There was someone. Alright, I'll just... Well, that was stupid. Huh. Ryunosuke, please. I'm sorry, Kazuma. Mr. Naruhodo, isn't there someone rather important whom you've overlooked?
Your silence is beautifully eloquent. I take it we've reached the end of this debate, then. Let the matter be closed for good.
Objection!
Right, there was someone, obviously. Actually, there is one person. One person
who could still testify about that autopsy.
Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left.
Who, Yunosuke? Who? Tell me.
Kazuma,
Please. This trial can't end. Not yet.
I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify about the autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks is the guy who wrote the report in the first place. Remember, Dr. Wilson only signed off on it. There's the guy who penned the actual details.
Take that!
Eugene Mikotoba.
Heaven help us. Another Japanese?
An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Eugene Mikotoba. 16 years ago. He came to London with Seishiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student.
And what could his testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report.
Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature.
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Mikotoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us.
The defense's demand is denied.
What? But Professor Mikotoba is in London at this very moment. We could summon him to the stand in minutes. No. Of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself.
Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange.
I did, yes.
So, present your evidence for those claims, and make your case complete.
At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence. But that's exactly why we need witness testimony.
The professor's case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will boost your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, the court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by the Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection!
But we all know what will happen. That'll just give the mastermind of this whole venture time to cover his tracks again.
By which you mean me? Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. That will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over.
Hold it. Mr. Sholmes?
This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once.
Objection!
Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Taisho Jigoku before he fled from Europe. The court should hear what he has to say. Lord Mayor Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage.
Is it really? And why would that be?
You need only recall your own words from the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused by the Reaper of yourself has erased that from your memory, can it?
The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered.
It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along with the prevarications of your superiors?
Order! Order in court!
It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. Yeah? Sholmes is introducing democracy into this?
The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence.
That's right. The judge has absolute authority.
Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end.
But will that really do?
I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed.
Is there a single person here present who doesn't know the same? Think the same?
What's...
The trial should go on. Summon the witness.
That's right. We're going to clear this up before that young Japanese fellow is put in custody.
My lord, you assured those present that you would uncover the whole truth here.
Vindicate yourself for this outlandish accusation.
The truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law.
A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery.
Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice, I take it. I think you'll find it will be rather awkward to silence.
The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene.
A recess won't be necessary, my lord.
Pardon?
Mikotoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Mikotoba is here in the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this would happen, did you? My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know. Yeah? Ever since that deduction, Mr. Sholmes has been on point. Almost as if he was faking it all this time. Oh wait. Like legitimately, the moment he says, "Yeah, I can't afford to make any mistakes," he just started being the MVP, literally.
Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once.
But of course, in truth I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo? Yes? I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you? Absolutely. It's still in my pocket. She sends her regards. And a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please. Oh, of course.
In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand.
So it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I about to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Also, yeah, Maelstrom, Strongheart. Think you're funny, Ryunosuke? Well, that's the end of this episode. Oh, wow. Okay. Whew. So, I guess that's just, with that being said, let's just save our progress and finish things there. Yeah. So, I might just exit out, but I don't particularly want you guys to see my actual screen, right? Wait, let me see if there's anything. Okay, yeah, sorry. Let's end things here then. So, what can I say? We have found out who the Reaper of the Bailey is, and unfortunately, he's probably the highest-ranking member of the justice system there is. Question is, how do we take him down? I can't think of anything beyond him, except for one thing. But, whatever. Anyways, next time, we're gonna, I guess, cross-examine Mikotoba's testimony, and use whatever we can from that to take out, Strongheart. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.